Without further ado, please welcome the Senator from New York, Hillary Clinton. Good. Nice to see you. Welcome. Nice to see you. Thank you very much. Senator Clinton, welcome to you.
Thank you.
John has got the first question.
Great. Well, it's wonderful to be here. I want to thank Messiah College for hosting this. Very, very good of you to do this.
Senator, we'll start with the news. You have been extremely critical of Senator Obama's recent comments in San Francisco, in which he argued that some hard-pressed Americans have, economically hard-pressed Americans have, and I quote, gotten bitter and cling to guns or religion or antipathy to people who aren't like them or anti-immigrant sentiment or anti-trade sentiment as a way to explain their frustrations. Senator, you have written of how faith sustained you in bitter times. Many of us have been sustained by our faith in bitter times. What exactly is wrong with what Senator Obama had to say?
Well, I'm going to let Senator Obama speak for himself, but from my perspective, the characterization of people in a way that really seemed to be elitist and out of touch is something that we have to overcome. You know, the Democratic Party, to be very blunt about it, has been viewed as a party that didn't understand and respect the values and the way of life of so many of our fellow Americans. And I think it's important that we make clear that we believe people are people of faith because it is part of their whole being. It is what gives them meaning in life through good times and bad times. It is there as a spur, an anchor to center one in the storms, but also to guide one forward in the day-to-day living that is part of everyone's journey. And, you know, when we think about the legitimate concerns that people have about trade or immigration, those are problems to be solved. And that's what I think we should be focused on. But I am very confident that as we move forward tonight and beyond, people will get a chance to get to know each of us a little better, and that's really what I want to talk about. I will leave it to Senator Obama to speak for himself. He does an excellent job of that, and I will speak for myself on what my faith journey is and what, you know, leads me to this chair here tonight.
But Senator, you've been out there on the stump attacking him pretty aggressively over this, and his response has been, and he said it pretty bluntly tonight, shame on you. You know that he is a man of faith. This is what he's saying. And to suggest that he is demeaning religion is you playing politics.
Well, he will have to speak for himself and provide his own explanation. But I do think it raises a lot of concerns, and we've seen that exhibited in the last several days by people here in Pennsylvania, in Indiana where I was yesterday, and elsewhere, because it did seem so much in line with what often we are charged with. Someone goes to a closed-door fundraiser in San Francisco and makes comments that do seem elitist, out of touch, and frankly patronizing. That has nothing to do with him being a good man or a man of faith. We had two very good men and men of faith run for president in 2000 and 2004. But large segments of the electorate concluded that they did not really understand or relate to or frankly respect their ways of life. And I think that is an issue for voters, as I've heard today from people I've visited in Scranton and elsewhere. So this is a legitimate political issue, and there are some issues that are not, but this one is. And I do believe that Senator Obama will have a chance to explain himself tonight, and I'm sure he will take that opportunity.
Let's talk about your faith. And we warned people the questions tonight would be pretty personal. So I want to ask you, you said in an interview last year that you believe in the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. And you've actually felt the presence of the Holy Spirit on many occasions. Share some of those occasions with us.
You know, I have, ever since I've been a little girl, felt the presence of God in my life. And it's been a gift of grace that has, for me, been incredibly sustaining. But really, ever since I was a child, I have felt the enveloping support and love of God, and I have had the experiences on many, many occasions where I felt like the Holy Spirit was there with me as I made a journey. It didn't have to be a hard time. You know, it could be taking a walk in the woods. It could be watching a sunset. Well, you know, I am someone who has talked a lot about my life. You know more about my life than you know about nearly anybody else's, about, 60 books worth, some of which are, frankly, a little bit off base. But I don't think that I could have made my life's journey without being anchored in God's grace and without having that, sense of forgiveness and unconditional love. And I'm not going to point to one or another matter. I mean, some of my struggles and challenges have been extremely public. And I've talked about how I have been both guided and supported through those, trying to find my own way through. Because for me, my faith has given me the confidence to make decisions that were right for me, whether anybody else agreed with me or not. And it is just such a part of who I am and what I have lived through for so many years that trying to pull out and say, oh, I remember I was sitting right there when I felt, God's love embrace me would be, I think, trivializing what has been an extraordinary sense of support and possibility that I have had with me my entire life.
But Senator, you, right after New Hampshire, you and I had a conversation a couple of days after that in which you described your moment in the setting where you said that you worked very hard and it was seen as a turning point by many people. You described that as a moment of grace.
Yes.
So that is a specific in...
Right. Well, John, it is perhaps a reluctance on my part that is rooted in my personal reserve, rooted in the way I was raised, that I worry, and I understand you want to ask a lot of personal questions, and I appreciate that, but I also worry, as I suggested to you in that same interview, that you have to walk the walk of faith. And talking about it is important because it's important to share that experience. But I also believe that, faith is just, it's grace, it's love, it's mystery, it's provocation. It is everything that makes life and its purpose meaningful as a human being. And those moments of grace are ones that I cherish. And, and asked a specific question about how I felt when I shared my belief that politics is not a game. It is not a who's up, who's down. I mean, it is a serious search. And we are so fortunate because we have taken the gifts that God gave us and we have created this democracy where we choose our leaders. And we have to be more mindful of how important and serious a business this is. And therefore, when I say politics is not a game, it is really coming from deep within me because I know that we have the opportunity to really give other people a chance to live up to their own God-given potential. And that, to me, is the kind of grace note that makes politics worthwhile. Because believe me, there's a lot about it that is not particularly welcoming or easy. But every day as I travel around the country, I meet people whose faith just knocks me over. I mean, I was with a woman in Philadelphia Friday morning, whose son was murdered on the streets in Philadelphia, whose grandson was murdered. And she and I just sat together, and she told me about how strong her faith is and how it has sustained her and how she believes, you know, God is with her, and she doesn't understand why this happened to her son and her grandson, but every day she's grateful, and she is determined to be the person that she believes God meant her to be. And so when I sit there and I listen to that woman tell me about how it felt and how today she is still, you know, getting up every morning, has a smile on her face, looking to go to her daycare business and take care of all these children who've been entrusted to her, that's a moment of grace. But it's not about me. I mean, not every moment of grace is about you. More often, it is about the interaction and the relationship. You know, grace is that relationship with God